Hello and welcome. It certainly is great to have everybody here today. For those who have not had the chance to meet before, my name is Dr. Richard Nongard, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a certified practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, and I have degrees both in counseling and theology and in cultural transformation. I'm very happy that you've decided to participate in this learning series. I've created a 12-part learning series, and some of you have substantial knowledge and experience with neuro-linguistic programming, and what you're going to learn is my application of NLP with the clients who I work with. That's going to help you take your existing repertoire of strategies and processes and patterns and utilize them either in some new ways or for some new perspectives. But many of you have come to this course as professional hypnotherapists or as professional counselors without a background in neuro-linguistic programming. And what I'm going to be sharing with you are some essential strategies, some foundational strategies or patterns or processes, as they're sometimes referred to, in neuro-linguistic programming that you will easily be able to adapt for your work in, again, either counseling or clinical hypnotherapy. The goal here in this learning series is to give you some practical tools. One of the number one things that I hear from people who've taken a hypnosis certification course or even an NLP certification course, depending on where they've gone, is now that I have a client in my office, it's 4:15 in the afternoon. I've tried what the course taught me to do, but it hasn't had the impact I desire. What else can I do? And using these core processes from neuro-linguistic programming, either in formal trance or in an informal or conversational state of hypnosis, you'll find that your clients experience the results that they hope to achieve by visiting your office. Now, let me take a few minutes to talk about neuro-linguistic programming and its relationship both to hypnotherapy as well as some other modalities of treatment as well. And I'm not going to the complete history, but for those who are unfamiliar with where NLP came from, back in the late 1960s, early 1970s, two gentlemen from University of California, Santa Cruz, Richard Bandler and John Grinder. John Grinder was a professor of linguistics, language, and Richard Bandler was actually at that particular time a student at University of California. And the two of them embarked on developing a way to model excellence. And so what they did was, first they looked around the campus to see if there was anyone excellent there. And the first one they ran into was a German psychiatrist named Fritz Perls. And you've probably heard of Gestalt therapy, and Fritz Perls was the architect of Gestalt therapy. Those of you who are familiar with parts therapy, those of you who are familiar with psychodynamic approaches, certainly have studied the work of Fritz Perls before, or Gestalt therapy. And Bandler and Grinder said, this therapist, Fritz Perls, is an exceptional therapist. He produces great results. Let's analyze why he achieves great results with his clients and see if we can teach other people to do the same thing so that they can achieve the same level of success. And so Fritz Perls became really the first person or exemplar that they studied. And then they went down to, I'm speeding up the history here, but they went down to Southern California to Virginia Satir and the California Family Therapy Institute. And they said, why is Virginia Satir an excellent family therapist? What makes her awesome? And they deconstructed the processes that she used in therapy, the language choices we use, which is why in neuro-linguistic programming you often hear about language patterns of Milton Erickson or Virginia Satir or others who were important in the foundation or the study or the formation of neuro-linguistic programming. And then they went from Southern California and Virginia Satir, on her recommendation, over to Phoenix, Arizona, where they studied the work of Milton Erickson. And my guess is almost everybody here participating in this course is familiar with Milton Erickson, who was both a psychiatrist and a medical hypnotherapist. In fact, most of us probably would not be here today without the contributions of Milton Erickson. And my guess is that when we think of neuro-linguistic programming, we're often thinking about the work that Bandler and Grinder did, particularly with Milton Erickson. Probably about 75% of those early books that they wrote on the subject of NLP really came from their study of Milton Erickson and trying to extract the processes and the methods and the patterns and the language choices that can help people to make change. But really we need to recognize that neuro-linguistic programming doesn't stay stagnant. It doesn't stay only in the 60s and 70s. There are exemplars today, people who are achieving excellence in a number of different areas, not just in family counseling or in psychiatry or in other mental health disciplines, but in a variety of disciplines, from professional speaking to leadership and business management, that we can study today. And we can look at those processes and we can deconstruct the language choices and the patterns. And we can say, why is this person successful? And we can try to isolate or extract the core elements that help those highly successful individuals be successful. As a matter of fact, most of you are probably familiar with Stephen Covey and his best-selling book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He looked at highly effective people and said, why are they highly effective? What makes them special? And he did the same thing really that Bandler and Grinder did, and he looked at those core elements and he came up with 7 habits. 7 things that highly successful people do on an ongoing basis. Really, this is what the heart of NLP is. NLP is not a particular system or a particular doctrine or this or that. NLP really is the art of studying excellence, determining why excellence occurs, and then teaching others to be excellent as well. In our role as clinical hypnotists or as counselors, what we're trying to do is we're trying to help people who come to our office and ask for help to achieve their highest level of potential. Now, there are lots of different applications of neuro-linguistic programming. Certainly, we can apply it to sales. We can apply it to human relationships, even romantic relationships. We can apply neuro-linguistic programming to marketing. We can apply it to transformational leadership or a number of other areas in business, as well as in personal development and clinical care as well. Because most of the people who are participating in this course have probably taken the ICBCH course or another certification course in clinical hypnotherapy. What I'm going to be doing in this 12-part series is I'm going to be teaching you some of the core processes and patterns from NLP that you're going to be able to utilize to help your clients experience success. No matter what level, whether you're new to neuro-linguistic programming or whether you've completed an advanced practitioner course and are already skilled in neuro-linguistic programming, I think you're going to find the content of this course to be very useful. Now, before I go into the first pattern, which I'm going to do here in just a couple of minutes, I want to talk a little bit about the course organization. This course is a course that you can complete at your own pace. You can start at any time, you can finish any time. My recommendation to you would be the first time you go through the material to go through and watch each video each day, or watch one video each day. And then find some people to practice on during the day, either colleagues, coworkers, friends, families. Experiment with clients, people who you're actually working with in your practice, applying the things that I'm teaching in that video for the day, and do that over a period of 12 days. I'd recommend then coming back to the video series, and any that you struggle with or had a particularly difficult time with, review those again and watch what I do when I do the demonstration. And in each video, I'm not only going to talk, I'm also going to be doing a demonstration with an actual person. For the purpose of this educational video, I'm going to be using Alex Nongard, and many of you have seen Alex, who has assisted me in a number of other videos before. When you go through the course and practice the materials, at the end of the course, you're going to take a short quiz. That's going to verify your participation in this course and your understanding of the material. There's a link at the very bottom of this page to that quiz. You're going to click that link, you're going to take the quiz, and 2 things are going to happen. First, it's going to generate automatically a JPEG continuing education certificate. Now, this is not a fancy or attractive certificate. It's a computer-generated certificate that licensed mental health professionals, nurses, and other professionals can use to document their participation in this continuing education course so they can receive continuing education credit. You're also going to receive, though, a very nice, frameable, full-color, a professionally designed PDF certificate that you can print out on a color printer. It's going to look absolutely fantastic, and you'll be able to frame that and receive a certificate of achievement for participating in this course from the ICBCH. Now let me talk a little bit about downloading things. Each of the 12 lessons also has a PDF. And you're going to be able to click on the PDF icon. It looks like a little PDF where each of the lesson dividers are. Just click on that. When you click on that, boom, it should automatically download to where you have your browser set up to download files onto your computer. If it does not automatically download, then right-click on it with your mouse and you'll see an option for save as or something like that. Then save the file to wherever you would like to save the file. You can print those PDFs, you can import them to a Kindle or a tablet or a mobile device and review the essential core aspects of each of these patterns in the PDF, of course, for as long as you like. People ask me all the time, how long will the videos be available? And they will be available for an unlimited amount of time. I always joke around that I'm going to be 49 this year. My grandfather lived to be 98, so as long as I can pay my server bill until I'm 98, you'll probably have access to these videos. You can download the videos. It is not our job to teach you the computer skill of how to capture and download MP4 videos. Please understand that we just can't provide that technical support to teach you how to do something other than neuro-linguistic programming. We don't teach computer skills. With some browsers, it's easy to save those. With others, you can, particularly Firefox or Google Chrome, you can actually install a plugin that'll capture and download any MP4s. There are a number of other ways to do that, and if you're not familiar with how to capture those videos, you can Google the answer and or take a course in how to download MP4 files to your hard drive. But these are going to be available as streaming videos for as long as I can possibly live, and so you will have access to it as an original purchaser. Please do not share these videos with others, and if you do download them, please do not repost them to other places. If you do repost them to other places, we will revoke your access to this course. Now, with those historical introductions and instructions about how to go about completing the course, let's go ahead and get right into the heart of the material. And the very first thing I want to talk about is the NLP swish pattern. Now, the NLP swish pattern is my starting point, not because it's the most important pattern, because it's the pattern almost everybody has heard of. I rarely meet any counselors or therapists or professional hypnotists who, no matter how little NLP they've studied, don't know about the swish pattern. They might not know what it is or how to apply it, but they've heard of the swish pattern. And so what I'm going to do in the first couple of videos, let's say the first 4 or 5 videos, I'm really going to focus on some of the elemental or the basic NLP patterns that most people are familiar with. Even if they haven't done them, they've at least heard of them. And I'm going to share with you the steps within the process or within the pattern, and then I'm going to bring Alex over and I'm actually going to demonstrate each one of these. Well, what is an NLP swish pattern? It's got kind of a fun name, swish, and if you've seen it demonstrated, you've actually seen people pointing somewhere and going swish, and it's kind of fun and kind of interesting. By the way, I love experiential therapy. Whether that's counseling, whether that's coaching, whether that's clinical hypnotherapy. I love getting people involved in the experience, which is probably one of the reasons why I actually utilize and like the NLP swish pattern. Now, what is somebody doing when they're pointing something and they're saying swish? Well, what they're actually doing is they're swishing one visual image into another visual image. Now, this does not have to be a visual image. It could be altering one sound into another sound, or one feeling, either physical or emotional, into another emotional or physical state. But for simplicity, I'm going to be dealing with visual images here as we introduce the swish pattern. Now, one of the things that I also want to discuss here is primary representational systems and submodalities. Primary representational systems really are our 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, feeling, the 5 senses that we learned about in 2nd grade. The submodalities are the characteristics of that. So, for example, visual might be the primary representational system, but the submodality of visual is colorful or black and white, in focus and crystal clear, or blurry and hazy. Visual may be far, visual may be near. These are the submodalities. So when you hear NLP language and you hear people talking about primary representational systems, what they're talking about are the primary ways which we experience the world around us, which are through our major senses. The word primary attached to representational system deals with which one do we primarily utilize for learning and experiencing the world. And the theory is that probably for most of us, one of our representational systems is primary. It's not the same for every person. Some people, in fact most people, are highly visual. Others are auditory. Others are kinesthetic, tactile, feeling. The way I explain these differences is really pretty simple. Let's say you go to IKEA and you get a desk. Now, this desk is not from IKEA, but let's say that it was, and it came in a box. The person who first gets the instructions and reads through them, they're reading that in their head. That's our auditory learner. The person who's visual, they take the picture on the box and they look at all the pieces and they look at the picture on the box and they try to build what they see on the box. That's our visual learner. The kinesthetic person, the engineers of the crowd in many cases, they take the pieces and they touch them and they compare the size and they hold them and they weigh them and they know what they're supposed to be building a desk and they assemble it based on that very tactile relationship that they've developed with the little pieces from the IKEA box. And so that's a short synopsis of representational systems and the primary representational system and the submodalities. Now, let's move into a discussion of the swish pattern and an application of it. As a counselor, I am licensed as a marriage and family therapist. I've worked with a lot of individuals who have PTSD. A swish pattern is something I have used with a number of my clients who have reported intrusive and distressing visual images and recollections. Now, we can use a swish pattern not only with clients who have a diagnosis of a psychiatric disorder, like post-traumatic stress disorder, but really with anyone who is struggling with obsessive thoughts. People who are pathological gamblers often have obsessive thoughts. I work with a lot of people who are unhappy in their personal relationships. They don't feel like they're getting what they want or what they're owed out of a personal relationship, and they begin to have catastrophic mental images about that other person who they're in a relationship with. And so what happens is distressing images can actually paralyze us emotionally and really even at a physical level. Now, it can even be situational images. For example, let's say that I have a boss who I just can't stand. And as a result of the abuse that I seem to have to take at the hand of my boss each day when I go into the office or the factory or wherever it is that I work, I feel defeated, I feel depressed, I feel miserable. So as I'm driving to work, what I'm experiencing on my way to work are mental images of how awful it's going to be when I walk in the door of the workplace. Now, I'm a big believer that wherever we put our attention is what we end up creating to a large extent. Nothing ever existed without being a thought first. This little bowl here, this Tibetan singing bowl, it didn't just materialize. Somebody had to think. I'd love to make a little 7-inch singing bowl. And I'd love to make a little pillow and let it sit on there. And because I have kids and grandkids, I no longer have the bonger for this particular bowl. Somebody thought, I'm going to make a little bonger for the side of it as well and cover the end with felt. Everything that exists had to be an idea first. This, I use it as a candy holder, but it's actually a candle holder. Somebody had to think, it'd be awesome to take open hands and to put a flame in it. That would just be a beautiful piece of art. And then I bet we could sell millions of them a Tuesday morning for $14.95, which when I turn it over is exactly what the price tag tells me. But I've had this on my desk for many years. The mental images that people create in their mind are the mental images that they step into in everyday life. To a large extent, we program ourselves through our visual images, but these subconscious automatic visual images that we reinforce through negative experience often become a predominant force in our life. And so the swish pattern is a technique that can help us take those intrusive mental pictures, those distressing mental pictures, those self-defeating mental pictures. I said in the description for this course, we were going to defeat self-defeat. This is certainly one way to do that. And come up with a process that can alter that mental imagery. I call this changing our mental channel. With the clients who I've worked with who have been depressed over the years, one of the things that I've had them do, and I am not an artist and I recognize they're not artists, but I always kept on my desk coloring pencils or coloring markers and index cards. They're usually, wow, for some reason they aren't here right now. I actually cleaned out my desk the other day. But one of the things that I've often done with my clients is I have said to my client who tells me that they're depressed, here's an index card, here are some markers, here are some coloring pencils. I want you to take the next 5 minutes, and this doesn't have to be museum quality, but simply draw an image, draw a picture of what happiness looks like to you. And they say, but I don't ever feel happy. When you did feel happy, or if you did feel happy, what would it look like? I've never had a client yet say, you know what, I can't do it. Some of them draw some simple drawings. They'll draw a sun in the corner with some rays sticking out. They'll draw a stick figure of themselves with somebody else or with a stick dog or something very basic. But I've always had every one of my clients, when I ask them to do it, actually do that. The reason I have them do it on an index card is real simple. What I tell them to do then is take that index card, put it in the shirt pocket, or take it to your computer monitor, take it to the dashboard of your car, carry it around in your side pocket or in your purse, or tape it to the bathroom mirror, wherever it would be valuable to you. And whenever you find yourself being aware of intrusive, distressing, depressing mental pictures, use that almost like a remote control on a TV to change your mental imagery and actually pull out that card and take a look at it. That's really the same assignment that I've done in therapy as the pattern of the swish pattern. Here's the way the swish pattern works. It really is a simple and effective technique for helping clients to instantly replace a negative visual image with a positive image. The goal is to reduce anxiety, to put some space between them and their thoughts, to create emotional stability, and to help achieve really a sense of calmness, because often these distressing images can be anxiety producing and powerful to them. There's a 5-step process, or really 5 stages that I guide my clients through when I demonstrate or utilize a swish pattern with them. The first step is I have them think of an event that's either happened in the past or one they fear in the future, or one that's happening to them presently that's distressing to them. And then I have them imagine a mental picture that's the opposite of that distressing event. So step 1 is think of a distressing mental image which has been bothering you, a place, a state, an experience that you've either had that keeps haunting you, or that you're afraid you might have, in case of my anxiety clients, or that you're currently experiencing for my clients who come to see me for high levels of stress. Think of it, and I have them describe for me the submodalities. What does that picture look like? Is it near or far? Is it colorful? Is it black and white? Is it focused? Is it unfocused? I really have them describe that in detail, the mental image that's distressing to them. Then what I have them do, and this is part B of step 1, is I have them create what would the opposite of that image look like. And I have them try to describe it in as much detail as possible. Again, using those submodalities. Is it near or far? Is it colorful, not colorful? Is it hazy, fuzzy? Is it crystal clear? Is it painted? Is it drawn? I mean, there's all different types of ways of looking at submodalities. We can even bring the auditory things in here. What do you hear when you look at that picture? What do you hear others talking? Do you hear yourself talking? All these sorts of things. We can bring kinesthetic into it if we want to. For example, when you look at that picture, how do you feel? Do you feel light? Do you feel heavy? all of these sorts of physical or kinesthetic aspects as well. Is it harsh or soft? Is it violent? Is it calm? Is it ugly? Is it pretty? I mean, all of these contrasting submodalities to the representational system, which in this case, we're really going to be focusing on the visual. So I'm going to create two mental images. The mental image that's easy for them to create, and that is what they've either experienced, what they fear they're going to experience, or what they're currently experiencing. But then I have them create a mental descriptor, a picture that is, in their own mind, the antithesis of that. I often do this, or most of the time I do this, with the eyes closed. The reason why? It's easier to create mental pictures when our eyes are closed and I'm not looking at things in the room around me. Then I have them open their eyes. Go ahead and open your eyes. And now with your eyes open, I ask them questions. What triggers that negative image? Well, every time I get in my car and I head to the work, as soon as I round the corner and I have a half a mile before I get to the factory entrance, it seems like that's when the pictures come into place. Or is it an emotion? Every time I feel sad, I begin to have this mental image of me being lonely on the beach without, my girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever it is that the person is relating to experiencing an absence of. Maybe it's a sound. Every time you hear Eric Clapton's song, Tears in Heaven, does that instantly produce a response? By the way, a lot of our life experiences are a result of naturally occurring hypnotic phenomena. We associate that with something, and as soon as we hear the first note or two, we dissociate from the real world around us and are transported to our own mental images. So I ask, what triggers that distressing image, the one that bothers you? Then I have them. Close their eyes again, and as they close their eyes, I have them imagine that negative image is on a big screen in front of them, that they're looking at it and they're able to see it. And I have them imagine that off in the lower left-hand corner is a postage stamp sized image of the positive picture or the preferred scene. And I have them with their eyes closed imagine that position, the little tiny image that is positive or the preferred scene, with a giant visual imagery of that distressing image. And then I have them point and put their finger on that little tiny postage stamp. And then, like a tablet or a computer touchscreen, I have a person simply swish across the mental screen that postage stamp sized image into and covering, expanding it, kind of like Windows 8, and completely obliterating the negative mental image. And I'll ask my clients to make a swish sound while they actually sort of go across the touchpad of their own mind. Swish. People sometimes feel silly doing that, but it's kind of fun. It brings a little bit of levity to what usually is a very serious situation for my clients. And I'll have them swish one image into another. Swish. And I'll have them do that a couple times. Swish. Swish. And the reason why I have them do that a couple times is so they can see how simple and how easy it is to actually instantly replace one mental image with another image. The reason why is because there is a positive image hiding under their finger in the lower left-hand corner that they can swish into and over the larger distressing mental image. When my clients do that, what they're doing is they are instantly switching a set of submodalities and representational systems for another set of representational systems and submodalities. It alters instantly their physiology. I can see their skin change, the signs of trance, I can see the eyes sometimes move quickly. I can see sometimes a smile come across their face. It's really interesting and powerful to see how effective this is. Then I have the client open their eyes, but continue to think about that positive image, which has replaced the negative image, for a couple of moments. And usually without saying anything, I simply sit with them for a moment and let them experience that positive image. There are a lot of different ways to utilize the swish pattern. This is my starting point for this course because most of us have heard of the swish pattern. And now I'm going to demonstrate it with Alex. By the way, a word on the length of these videos. This is actually the last video that I have recorded. So I have recorded the rest of the videos. And the length of these videos really varies. I think the shortest one is about 8 or 9 minutes. The longest one is actually this one, but there's another one that's about 22 minutes. I've created bite-sized videos for you so that you will be able to really get the core elements or characteristics of each of these patterns, and then it's going to be up to you to apply them with your clients in a variety of different contexts and situations. But without further ado, I'm going to bring Alex on and take a minute to demonstrate the swish pattern with Alex as if I were working with a client. All right, a big round of applause here for Alex joining me. Thank you very much, Alex, for joining me. And Alex is actually an exceptional student. I taught a speed reading course with Alex, and Alex helped me prepare a training course for hypnotherapists and NLP professionals and life coaches who want to excel in academic performance coaching and test taking. So this is an arena that we have a lot of experience. Alex is going to sort of role play, though, a different type of student. And actually, it is a role play because he's an excellent student. But he's going to role play a student who has a hard time taking tests, who's not doing so well. And I'm going to demonstrate utilizing a swish pattern with Alex like I might use with a client who came to my office. And I do a lot of test-taking performance and anxiety sessions for academics. And so this is fairly representative of a typical client who I might work with. Now I want you to notice something here. I can use NLP patterns in one of two ways. I can use it conversationally, like I'm going to use here, or I can go through a formal induction process if I wanted to. For the essence of time, I'm going to dispense with a formal induction process. I have to admit that I usually do utilize my NLP patterns about 50% of the time using a formal process of hypnosis, waiting to that point where I do suggestive therapy to introduce the NLP pattern, and then about half the time I actually utilize these patterns across the desk from my client. Or sometimes after a hypnosis session is over, maybe he gives me one more key that's holding him back. And rather than go through another formal process of hypnosis, I might say, I'm really glad that you brought that up. Here's a great strategy. And then going to a demonstration with that person of the NLP pattern. But this is the NLP swish pattern demonstrated with a client who might be having a hard time with test taking. In our first hypnosis session, Alex, I really focused on teaching you some of the skills to experience a physical state of relaxation. Was that helpful to you this week?
Yeah, it was helpful. It definitely relaxed me more.
A lot of people just don't know that difference between tension and relaxation. And you did a great job of practicing it in the office last week, and have you continued to practice those techniques with the MP3 I gave you?
Yes, I have. I've been trying to devote time to do that.
Okay. Well, here in our second session, I want to be able to focus on those distressing visual images you have. You said that was the most difficult part of test taking for you, huh?
Yeah, I get really, really anxious and panicky when I take a test, and I fail and I don't do well. And part of that comes from I have these really visual images starting in my studying in the nights before. I can see myself not finishing the test. I can see myself looking at the clock and realizing the class is over and I'm not done, and then I fail it, and I can see me getting the paper back and seeing my grades and the disappointment. It makes me feel awful, I don't sleep because of it.
I was going to ask, how do you sleep the night before a big exam?
Oh, it's never good. And then I'm restless getting up in the morning and groggy, and I drive to school, I feel terrible, my stomach hurts.
Sure.
You know, and then when I'm actually taking the test, on top of all that physical stuff, the mental panic comes back, and then I just can't finish the test.
You know, it sounds to me like you're often projecting a visual image of what the future is going to be like, and that future isn't so great, huh?
No.
Okay. But your history of taking tests, I know you've really struggled in the last year or two. In the past, were you able to, you know, in some of the earlier grades, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, did you have an easier time, or was it difficult for you then as well?
Well, it was a lot less stressful then. It was the 5th grade, you know. So, but now I'm a high schooler, I'm a senior, I'm going off to college. These matter, so it's a lot more stressful.
Sure. And so when you let's say a test is tomorrow, what would that mental image be in your mind that's keeping you up all night? What would it look like? I mean, if you're laying there on your pillow and you can't sleep and you're creating a mental picture of the future that's stressful, what would it look like?
I see myself crouching over my desk, my head in my hands, looking at a blank piece of paper, looking up and seeing the clock and looking back down and not knowing what to do.
So it's almost like you're watching a movie of yourself, huh?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's very visual. It's like I'm seeing myself from another view, watching myself fail.
Sure. Go ahead in the chair where you are. Just kick back and relax in the chair a little bit. We're not going to go through a formal process of hypnosis like we did last week, but just be stable in that chair. And you're safe in this chair, but I'd like you in your own mind to sort of watch that image that keeps you, that movie that keeps you up all night the night before the test. Go ahead and close your eyes and just imagine that that movie is playing. And when you get to a point where it's particularly stressful to you, simply freeze that image in your mind. Stop that movie. Turn off the movie, but leave that image frozen on that mental screen. And just tell me when you're looking at that picture. You're looking at it now? Okay. Go ahead and open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes. Just taking a breath, breathe in, breathe out. What I've done there, and I want to explain this to you, is a broken state. I don't ever want to re-traumatize clients. This is obviously traumatic and stressful for them. I want them to have that visual image that's distressing and clearly know what it is, but I might break the state and then open the eyes again so that I can not have them go into a state of abreaction or panic. So with other clients, I may continue with the eyes closed if emotionally they're able to handle it. But that image that you're looking at, that frozen image in your mind, is it near or is it far?
I'm pretty close.
Okay. And it's like you're observing yourself, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And is it in color? Is it in black and white?
It's in color.
What colors do you see?
Right now I'm picturing what I'm going to be wearing for my test tomorrow.
Okay.
You know, my outfit.
All right. What color is that?
Purple shirt and jeans.
Short sleeve, long sleeve?
Short sleeve.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the picture with you? Is there a teacher, other students, or do you only see yourself?
I only see myself. The rest of the desks are empty.
Okay. So it's almost as if in your own mind you've created that you're the only one taking a test.
Sometimes that's how it feels. Everybody else is so calm. I'm the only one panicking like I'm taking the test.
Sure. Now, is that picture that you're looking at, is it clear and sort of in high fidelity, or is it hazy and fuzzy and difficult to make out?
It's a little fuzzy. It goes, the focus changes. It goes back and forth in my mind.
Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, we know what the distressing image is. You just described it in pretty good detail. I want you to imagine now what it would be like if you were experiencing the opposite of this stress. What would it be like for you to almost have the same experience you had in 5th grade where it didn't really matter, where it was easy, where you didn't have the stress and anxiety, where you took a test and then you went outside and played. I guess that's what people do when they're in 5th grade. And this is going to be a different picture, a picture that's the opposite. We're going to try to make everything the opposite of what you just told me this picture looks like. So go ahead and close your eyes again and take in a breath. Breathe in, breathe out. And as you breathe in and breathe out, sitting in a chair, imagine in front of you is a movie screen or a canvas or really anything that you can create a new image on. And I want you to imagine if everything were the opposite. Rather than being hazy and fuzzy, make this image crystal clear. In this image, instead of being the only one in the classroom, fill the classroom with people. In this image, instead of it being near, put a little bit of space and distance between you and the image. Come up with an alternative image where you're at a safe vantage point and can really see the bigger picture, maybe even not only other students, but the teacher in it too. Now, does it feel comfortable to do that? Is that okay to create that image?
Yeah.
You can even go wild here with this picture if you want to. You can put over in the left-hand corner, you can put rainbows and butterflies. On the other side of the image, if you wanted to, you could put unicorns and sunshine. I mean, you can put anything you want to here. You can even put a visual image of your final grade. Seeing that piece of paper in front of you with a giant A right across the front of that paper. Feels pretty good to get a grade like that, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Are you able to really create that image in your mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it might be, because we've been adding things to this picture, I've been guiding you through that, a little bit like a movie. So take a snapshot of it, just freeze it in your mind like we did a little while ago. So you're simply looking at the rainbows and unicorns and sunshine and the other students with a smiling face, you too. The teacher putting a big A across your paper and doing fantastic. And now go ahead and open your eyes. Open your eyes again. What we've done here is a broken state again. The reason I'm broken state though now is not to avoid abreaction. The reason I'm broken state now is to amplify that experience, that positive experience. So, Alex, it feels pretty good to be able to create that picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they say that anything that exists has to be an idea first. You just came up with an idea that's really pretty awesome. Now, I've really shortened this process for the sake of the video. I added the unicorns and the rainbows and the butterflies. I'm going to really let my client's imagination go wild and let them share with me these things. But you were able to do that and really create that visual image and then freeze it, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Not only do you have the ability to create the antithesis image, you have the ability, Alex, kind of like a remote control on a TV, to choose what your subconscious mind pays attention to. And that's pretty important. What that means is that you can go to an exam tomorrow, and on the way to the exam, you can choose this picture or this picture. And depending on which picture you choose to pay attention to, you're going to take action that's congruent with what your thoughts are. So I want to share with you a way, anytime you notice yourself getting in the car, driving to school, sitting at the stoplight, seeing the school, and having that negative mental picture, or when you sit down and the test begins, that blank piece of paper and that mental picture appears in your mind, to change that channel. Now, in a class, I'm not going to have you do this. I'm not going to have you make strange noises and start pointing in class. But in the office here, what I actually want you to do, Alex, is I want you to point over here to the lower left-hand side of your field of vision. Okay? All right? And I want you to imagine that right underneath your index finger where you're pointing is a little postage stamp-sized image of that positive picture, rainbows, unicorns, butterflies. And just put it right here. Okay? You got your finger on that picture? Mm-hmm. Now, imagine that there's a giant negative picture. The first picture you created here in front of you, it's giant, and go ahead and close your eyes. And I'm going to speak to your unconscious mind here right now. As you breathe in and breathe out, paying attention to that giant mental image that's so distressing to you. And is it okay if I touch your hand for a minute, Alex?
Yes.
As you point to this image right here, the positive image, kind of like the touchpad on a screen, what I'd like you to do is simply take it and swish it across that screen of your mind, swish. And as you do, I want you to say, swish. And I want you to to expand, just like you would on a computer screen, that little tiny postage stamp size image so it totally covers and totally replaces that negative image. As you do that, simply say the word swish.
Swish.
Perfect. Now, when you do that, okay, bring it back over here, okay? Little tiny postage stamp inside picture, rainbows, unicorns, butterflies. Swish.
Swish.
And when you swish, when your hand is way over here, Alex, are you able to see that giant positive picture?
Yes.
And that negative picture is nowhere to be seen, is it?
No.
Does it feel like it's easy to change the channel?
Yeah.
Does it feel like tomorrow morning, if you find yourself sitting in a classroom with that automatic intrusive mental picture, you'd be able in your own mind to just sort of make a mini swish, swish, and change that mental picture?
I think so.
Fantastic. Before we go today, let's just try that one more time. Put that index finger on top of that lower left-hand corner, that little tiny picture. Give it one big giant swish.
Swish.
Opening the eyes, rainbows, butterflies, unicorns, feeling fantastic. And ready for that exam tomorrow morning. Feels pretty good, huh?
Feels wonderful.
That is an example of a swish pattern. By the way, I'd like to throw in a couple of things that some of you may have paid attention to if you've had NLP training before. They use one of Richard Bandler's language patterns. Close your eyes now. It's a direct suggestion. I'm going to speak to your unconscious mind. That's an embedded command. You're unconscious. So I like to throw those in during my training videos every now and then, just for those who are sort of paying attention. The other thing I want to point out is, before I touched the client, I asked for permission. I think it's really important to recognize that everyone has this, it's called proxemics, the field of proxemics has their personal space, and I never invade my client's personal space without permission to touch them first. I think it's something that's really super important. Anyway, Alex, thank you for demonstrating an application of the swish pattern today. For those of you who have been enjoying this video, download the PDF and you can review this and practice it with your clients, with your friends, with your coworkers throughout the rest of the day. Coming back to video number 2 in a day or two.